All right, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Dunn County Executive Board to order. Call the roll. Everyone is here except for Supervisor Zons and Supervisor Calabrese.
Actually, Supervisor Zons is on.
Oh, he's on. I'm sorry. Gee.
I'm here remotely.
There we go. I missed you there. My apologies. Okay, just Supervisor Calabrese, who is excused, and we would then continue normally to an approval of the minutes, but we do not have a prepared set of minutes for this meeting, so we will have to bump them to the next executive committee, which takes us to the county public comments. I didn't get anything, and I don't see anybody here who, so no public comments. Report of the county manager, Chris.
Okay, so we are late in our reporting out. Typically, you would have received the audit report presented to you this month. We just received the final copy of it actually yesterday or today, but we are scheduling April Anderson from whoever they are, audit firm, Clifton, to come in for the September meeting. So she will be here. We will have summary information available for the workshop on Saturday. As a generally, the audit was very positive. We returned $4.8 million to the general fund. That was really comprised of three things: decreased spending, kind of across the board. I don't know about every particular entity, but there was generally decreased spending in 2021. There was a $1.3 million return transfer in from NDC, and a $1.7 million transfer in from the Department of Human Services. So it leaves the, and I was going to look it up, but it leaves the general fund balance at something between $17 and $18 million, which is positive.
Chris, were there any issues that slowed? I'm sorry, Dan.
Were there any issues that slowed the audit?
You know, I don't know that there was really an explanation for that. There was, they were not on our end if there were issues. So they indicated that they had all the information that they needed, and then it was just slow in coming. So
Thank you.
for this excellent report. All right. Let's see here. So review of the August 13th budget workshop agenda. You should have received while we were sitting here an email from Beata with some background information for a link to you to be able to access the financial information that will be shared then. Our plan for the day is to do a welcome, a short overview of the budgeting, kind of the budgeting process. We will then provide you with a document which is included in those reference documents that gives us the starting point for where we're at with the round one, and then have department summaries from each of the departments that go through not the programs and the services that are provided, as well as the financial picture to those programs and services. And then we are going to ask that we hold questions until the end, because honestly, it is a ton of information. And if we start asking questions along the way, I'm afraid we will never get past the first two departments. So we'll make sure that each participant has a notebook and can jot down questions. Our goal is to try to get you out of there by about 1 o'clock, just because after that, your brain power and ours, honestly, to absorb more information is going to be taxed. So, and then keeping in mind that we're talking about round one. So as a little preempt, you know, there's a pretty big gap between the ask and the fill. quite yet, but that's to be expected. If you've been involved in this process, you know that that's sort of an annual thing. There are lots and lots of unknowns yet in terms of our sales tax revenues, our net new construction numbers, our allocations from various funding sources. I mean, there's just lots of moving pieces. Our WRS percentage contribution rates. So so there's lots of things that are moving and changing, and the goal will not be to end Saturday with a balanced budget, but hopefully to give you some really good information for which you can begin to move forward in September and early October towards that as the target. Oh, yes. Dan Dunbar suggested that we change our room setup that day. So we're going to actually, instead of orienting you to the front, we're going to actually orient you to, right, Dan? To the sides, so that you have bigger screen and can look to that direction. And hopefully to see more. Plus, you will have those documents, and part of what we will do is just do a short tutorial about walking through them as well that day, and making sure that there's an opportunity for everyone to, you know, kind of raise your hand if you're having problems navigating. If you want to bring your laptops that day and navigate the materials on your laptop as well, we'll try to do a good job of guiding you through that as well. And then lastly, I just wanted to do just a real quick review of what sort of these first 30 days look like from the county manager's standpoint. Most of the last week, most of actually the last month, even though I officially began on July 30th, has been involved in preparing for this budget workshop, working with Beata and Sarah, and various department heads around finalizing some of those numbers, getting those ready for you. I am making an effort to try to attend all of the committee meetings, and because they're an excellent spot to learn more information. Yesterday at the CRT committee meeting, we talked a lot about economic development and the Dunn County Economic Development Corporation, and that being a focus of some efforts over the next 30 to 90 days, probably 30 to 60 days of just looking at what that whole landscape of economic development looks like, and being able to bring some information back to that group. And going to start to schedule some time with the department heads. And then honestly, because I was intending to not be working anymore after last Friday, I am going to take a better part of next week off to just take a little bit of downtime. Haven't taken much time this year, thinking I was going to be retired. So so I'm going to take a mini retirement, and then so that's kind of what the first month is looking like, and so far so good. And that's all that I have for you.
Thanks, Chris. Item 6, reports, resolutions, ordinances, resolution for budget adjustment, highway, human services, health, veteran services, and CJCC. We've all seen a lot of these. Is there anything special about this one that we need to know?
No, I believe that, so I pulled it together in Mr. Lang's absence last week while he was off. And so I think he's going to do a little tweaking to the formatting for the final product that will go out in the county board packet, but it's essentially the content is the same.
Okay. Seeing no obvious questions about that. 7, review of reports, resolutions, etc. There are none. We're moving quite along here, and we are all the way to reports from the standing committees.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Was there a vote on the budget adjustment resolutions?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Keeping me on my toes.
Important step. My apologies. So we would need a motion in a second. Supervisor Steen,
Second.
Supervisor Morehouse. Any further discussion? Seeing none. This isn't a budget adjustment, but it's just a voice vote at this level. correct? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. My apologies for that. I'm apparently a little more tired from an intensive work week away than I thought I was. All right. Now on to item 8, reports from the standing committees. I am going to start with Supervisor Zons, who I cannot see and I do not want to forget.
Here I am.
There we go.
The Community Resources and Tourism Committee actually met yesterday. We got some updates from our Extension Horticulture agent who kind of took us through everything that she's working on right now. Some important discussions that we had a rather lengthy discussion about economic development. Supervisor Steen and I actually had a meeting Monday to kind of talk about things, and we still didn't make any moves on any budget resolution, but we kind of tasked our new county manager with gathering some information and talking to some stakeholders and kind of helping gather more information how we want to move forward as a county with economic development. So probably more on that at our meeting next month. One of the things that we are planning on bringing forward with budget discussion is asking for some funding for a communications and PR entity, and that would be Doug Mell, who many of you may know the name. He actually was kind of the communications PR person for Stout for a number of years, and also was at the Leader Telegram for a long time. And so we want to bring forward in our budget discussions funding for this position, because it can be rather inexpensive for us to have a vehicle for getting information out about the county, especially like the good things we do, but also the things that we do that are challenging, that that people don't know what we're doing, and then talk on social media doesn't help the matter when there's nothing from the county that kind of can allay those fears or feelings that people have that maybe the county's doing something that they don't know about. So and it should be a pretty inexpensive thing, relatively speaking, because it would be like to bring Doug on a monthly basis would be about 12 grand a year, about $1,000 a month. So could be pretty affordable to do. So look for that coming from us, and our next meeting obviously will be next month. And that's my report.
Thank you, Supervisor Zons. I'm going to go this way. Supervisor Kinnear,
Okay, thank you.
microphone if you would.
The neighbors met at the end of July. We had 111 residents, which is a little higher than before, but that goes up and down. It could be more or less right now. Carmen has had contact with a training company for certified nursing assistants. Possible to have them come in and do the actual training in our facility. It's kind of like outsourcing the job. But the administration committee is also going to get a request for a new position, training position, in case that didn't go. So we're trying to work to get some CNAs. In fact, right now we have spent almost as much on pool CNAs this year as we did all of last year. And we're talking a lot of money. Yeah. So that's something important that we hope can help. COVID been pretty good amongst the people that live there, but the staff has been catching it, but nothing serious. And our director of nursing is on a leave of absence for a while. So they're making do and working pretty hard to try to fill in for that. And our next meeting is a week from tomorrow.
Thank you Supervisor Kinnear. Supervisor Headland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our Committee on Administration met on Thursday, July 28th here at the County Center. We had staff reports all available from all the staffs to report to the Committee on Administration. We had a discussion period that we asked for from CJCC. They had received $150,000 grant. And we had a position that really had been funded with some grant money and ended. And so I guess we were having that discussion about, are we going to be able to retain that person or not? It was made known to us that no, that is over. However, this grant is going to fund a different position. You heard about that with the Sheriff's Department. And that person will have basically the ability and the assignment of covering for the previous position that we now are no longer funding. So it's gonna, in the end, work out fine at this point anyway. So and we had already approved that budget adjustment. We audited the vouchers, had a few questions which were all either answered at that point or answered by email later on. And we did approve those vouchers. We had a little bit of a discussion in terms of some of the staffing. We talked a little bit about not for people, but in terms of adjustments to wages, things like that we've had to do, and we haven't seen many lately. And of course we're not fully staffed here at the county either. The other thing we did do was talk about upcoming, of course, budgeting, and we didn't have any budget numbers at that point. But obviously, hopefully everybody will be here on Saturday and that'll take care of itself. We did have a vote, and we voted for the end of corporate counsel as our interim county manager. And that time was set to be, I believe, midnight at the end of the month. I think it was the way we did it. And knowing that we had Chris coming on board, and I assume that went just fine. And so that's all I have. Our next meeting will be the 25th of this month, Thursday afternoon here at the county. Thank you.
Thank you Supervisor Headland. Supervisor Rogers.
Thank you. We had our facilities meeting on June 22nd. We did not have a lot going on. We had a conversation about solar. We've had an ongoing conversation about solar, and there continues to be a lot of roadblocks, but we continue to address them. Nothing coming anytime real soon right now. The issue with camping in the parks will be taken up in September, as will the transfer station. And our next meeting will be September 28th. Thank you.
Thank you Supervisor Rogers. Supervisor Quinn.
Thank you. The PR&D committee met yesterday, and our only agenda item was a public hearing to accept the petition from the Tainter Lake Improvement District committee to form a lake district, which you've all heard a little bit about. And so we had public testimony from the petition submitters, and we had, I want to say there were probably, I don't know, 30 or 40 people here.
Oh, yeah.
At least, yeah. And maybe 18 people spoke. The comments were on both sides. probably a little bit more in favor than against, but pretty even. And the concerns from people were multiple. They were, and the support was various too, but it was mostly, the petition, some was the petitioners didn't inform us that this could be a tax increase. They didn't inform us about the kind of activities that they were going to do and questions about how the Lake District is governed, how decisions about the budget are made. So what, all over the map kind of, but a lot of serious concern and a lot of solid support from people who felt like, look, we just got to do something. Can't keep going on the way we are. So that was just a hearing to gather information. We made no decisions. At the end of the hearing, we asked directed staff to prepare a report addressing some of the concerns that were made at the hearing and raised at the hearing, and some of the suggestions that were made. And that report will come back to us at our next meeting, which is in early September. And no, it's in late August. Yeah, right, 2 weeks. And we will review the report and most likely not take action on it then, but take action at a meeting in early September. And at that point in time, it will, if it proceeds, it will be forwarded to this committee at our September meeting. And we will, as executive committee, forward it to the full board. The full board doesn't have to take action on it. It could come to the board as soon as its September meeting. It doesn't have to take action on it until 6 months after the date on which the petition was submitted. That would be, it was submitted back in June, so I think that would be in January, early January, or January meeting. So that's kind of the timeline. And then there's a whole bunch of questions that have to get laid out in the meantime about how the initial board will be appointed. Some questions that the committee's asking the county for a grant. There was support and opposition to that in the hearing. But it was, I think, people had the chance to say what they thought, and they did. And we listened, and the good thing is there'll be at each of the next 2 of our meetings, there will be an opportunity for public comment before even though it won't be a hearing. And at our meeting, of course, there will be, and also any meeting of the board that deals with it. So there's plenty of opportunity for the public to have comments, and as information gets more fleshed out, we expect that'll happen. That was our meeting.
Thank you, Supervisor Quinn. Supervisor Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was a news story on Channel 18 last night.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah. With lots of pictures of the lake.
Oh, yeah, I suppose.
The Health and Human Services Board last met on July 28th. We always follow admin. We had to wait a little bit to make a quorum, but we did finally. So we always have regular reports from all 3 of our departments, and a program report and a finance report. Greg Quinn from Veteran Services always spends a lot of time talking about the cases that he so doggedly pursues and the amounts of money that are returned to veterans and their families. A couple of the cases that we reviewed had been open for, since Vietnam, essentially. So, and then we also talked a little bit about the PACT Act, which had just gone down to defeat that very day in the Senate and has now been implemented. The health department updated us on COVID rates, which were climbing at that point and are now back down again. We're at low level. And KT also talked about the reproductive health services provided by the health department. For the Human Services Department, this was Paula Winter's first meeting. It was great to have her there. I did extend Supervisor Steen's wishes since that for a good meeting since he wasn't able to be there. Chris and Paula did a really nice job, as they always do, about talking about how our complicated array of programs are funded and how some of those costs are recouped in various ways. So we did talk a little bit about that. And we also talked a little bit about the fact that during the pandemic, during the emergency, restrictions have been lifted, and the amount of money that is allocated to food share was really dramatically increased. So when, and that's 2.5 years at this point. When the pandemic emergency ends, there will be notice to food share and Badger Care recipients. But there likely are going to be enormous cuts in benefits that are made available to people. And that's kind of a tsunami that I don't know at what point to expect it, but certainly will be coming for a lot of our clients. We noted receipt of the June vouchers, and we approved 3 budget adjustments that you have here. And then just a slight update. We have talked about the fact that the housing study has, and we're not going to do a probability survey. We know that we aren't going to spend that kind of money, but the survey, regional plan has done an online survey. We've also formatted it for print. That survey has been out. We are forwarding it. Chris has forwarded it to everybody in the county. We're forwarding as widely as possible. It's going to be open until the 19th of September, but we already had 345 responses after a couple of days of being out. So it's not a probability survey, but it is a whole set of information that can build the housing study, and we think will be really useful. So fill it out if you. I mean, you did get the link, so fill it out. And that's my report. We meet again on the 25th.
Thank you, Supervisor Morehouse. Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. We last met this morning. The highway committee was informed that the paving on County V and Q is complete. Shouldering and painting will soon be done on them 2 roads. The bridge on K is completed near Connorsville, maybe in Connorsville, and it's spelled with an O, not an E. Okay. So the bridge on Q. No, where's the other bridge, Dustin? On Q, that's what I thought. Will be complete, give or take 8/29. The crews continue to spray patch. Town culvert replacing and paving is taking place. Bridge inspections consisting of 150 county, town, and village bridges have been completed. Won't be long in the snow. The shop crew will be starting routine maintenance on snow equipment. Yeah, and then Commissioner Binder suggested a bus tour for all supervisors, which I think is a real good idea. Take a look at certain county highways at different stages of age and condition. So the committee set a date of September 28th. We'll leave the parking lot by the highway office 8:00 a.m. It's a Wednesday, September 28th. Won't work. Well, I'm sorry. She's going to Italy. That's all I have. Next meeting is 9/14.
Would there be restaurants included in the tour and?
What?
Refreshments.
Freshman committee.
So thank you, Supervisor Johnson. I believe Supervisor Steen has a question for you.
Sure.
Yeah, Dustin, are you having any trouble getting white paint? The reason I asked that question is the village board met last night and I asked the question, when are you gonna paint the crosswalks? Because school's starting. Our paint's been ordered since April, can't get it. No white paint,
Really?
unbelievable.
Wow. Anyway. Thank you.
That's everybody who's here. Unless we have something else, our next meeting of the executive committee will be September 14th. I will see you all there. Supervisor Morehouse.
May I make a short announcement?
Sure.
Yesterday afternoon in around one of the many corners down here in the WIC annex, we unveiled a work of art and what do you call it? A statement about the donations to the Nurse Family Partnership in memory of Wendy McDougall. I no longer remember whether it's $5,000 or seven. I think it's more like $7,000 in memorial donations to the Nurse Family Partnership, which was a program that Wendy brought. So please take a look at it. It's nice. Her family was here yesterday.
Thank you, Supervisor Morehouse. Anybody else? Seeing nothing, we are adjourned.
8 months.